I'm going to relay a story to you that illustrates how the Divine Mother Kali is both that which gives life and that which gives death, and how these two things are the same. And, she has the roles of creator, preserver, and destroyer. She is these three functions, these three roles, and that which officiates these three modes of manifestation and demanifestation. So this story, the analogy in it may seem disturbing, but keep in mind that this vision that this holy man saw, it wasn't something physical he was seeing. It was a vision that he saw that made him understand the Divine Mother more. It wasn't something that physically happened, but subtly, energetically, this vision happened. So, he was wandering by the banks of the Ganges one day, and he saw a woman swim out of the Ganges and then lay on the bank and give birth. She gave birth, and then she cleaned up everything and then began to suckle the child at her breast, and the child grew. Everything was happening very quickly. These circumstances that usually happen over long periods of time were happening very quickly. And that as she was suckling the child to her breast, the child grew, became much bigger, and then this woman transformed into a crocodile and ate the child. And then the crocodile swam back into the Ganges. And he realized something about the Divine Mother. The Divine Mother Kali gives life. She gives birth to us. She enlivens us. The soul exists, and she officiates the body that the soul needs to exist as a living being. And she enlivens that body, provides the body and enlivens it so that we become alive. Now, to become alive is to have the eventually the day that we die. From the moment we are born, there is a clock kind of ticking down to when we will die. We see life as beautiful, but we fear death, and then we see death as bad, as evil. In dualistic religious traditions like Christianity or Islam, the great God is not seen as somebody who gives death or kills, but God is seen as just creator. And the creator aspect of God is recognized, but the preserving aspect is kind of there, but it's not coherent. And then the destroying side, God is not seen as also destroyer. So in a way, they only worship one part of God. God is extremely limited, and that which creates must also destroy. We see this evident in nature and in life itself, and how we view nature. If we just watch it, if we try to understand it, we see the wonderful life and death in everything. So God, to be all-powerful, must also not just be creator, but also be destroyer. The Divine Mother gives us life, and then she gives us death. Death exists. Life could not exist as it exists without death. We can't have the good without the bad, the positive without the quote-unquote negative. But once again, death doesn't have to be seen as negative because it isn't inherently negative. The soil that we walk upon, the ground, it is billions upon billions of dead things that life grows out of. Animals eat other animals, or plants, and plants eat other plants. Fungi eat many things. But life grows out of death. That's what life is. It is just a different version of death, and death is just a different version of life. These aren't two separate things. They aren't polar opposites. They're the same thing. So we can't hate the Divine Mother Kali for the death that she provides, because we love the life so much. If we love life, we can't hate death. If we hate death, then we're really hating life. Now, this is an extreme vision that this holy man had, and it led him to realization. But when you have a vision of this kind, when the Divine Mother gives you a vision and tries to explain something to you through that vision that leads to realization, different levels of enlightenment, different kinds of enlightenment, that vision became a part of that holy man in a very subtle, energetic way. That's how realization works. The Divine Mother, she gives realization, she gives enlightenment, she enlightens our minds to truth. She dispels darkness, but she is also Maya. She is also the deluder. Since she is all-powerful and God is one, you have the deluding side, and then you have the enlightening side. God isn't necessarily corruption. That's an aberration of things. If one thing is separate from God, we could call it corruption, but death is not corruption. Death is necessary. So the difference between Vedanta and Tantra is very subtle. So in modern Indic thought, Vedanta and Tantra are kind of one. They've kind of absorbed each other. You know, who absorbed who first? Not sure. Tantra, probably older than Vedanta as we think of Vedanta, though this understanding is as ancient as understanding is. Vedanta is a realization of Maya and God, and Maya separating individual parts of God, individual jivas, individual souls are cut off from God, kind of trapped by Maya. But Brahman, the transcendental God, the oneness of God, Godhead, but the head of everything, so everything's a part of that head. That's Vedanta. God is Brahman. God is the oneness of soul. But Brahman is higher. It's not necessarily here. Here, the individual jivas are trapped by Maya. And in Vedanta, many forms of Vedanta, Maya is seen as not God, separate from God. That which separates, being different from the transcendental and oneness of Brahman. That is the transcendental God. In Tantra, the same oneness is acknowledged, but Maya is seen as a part of God and not necessarily bad. It is that which separates consciousness, but consciousness in Tantra is Brahman, and Brahman is consciousness. And individual sections of consciousness are kind of separated by Maya, but Maya allows them to exist, so Maya is also divine, it's also beautiful, because consciousness can exist in so many different ways only because of Maya. And every form of consciousness is to be revered, and Maya is to be revered, and Maya is just an extension of God, so Maya doesn't really exist, just consciousness exists, different forms in Tantra. So the immanence of God in Tantra is, whereas in Vedanta, God is kind of transcendental. But in modern Indic thought, these two are combined. The immanence and transcendence of God are both acknowledged and understood. I think that understanding God is both consciousness, but consciousness as being that one soul that is Brahman. I think that these two work very well together, the immanence and transcendence, transcendental nature of God, of Brahman, of soul. It's very hard for us as human beings to view illusion and delusion as even themselves as being divine officiators of existence as we know it. And Tantra here, now, is just as divine as somewhere else, because consciousness is here now in its own way, in a unique way, in a multiplicitous way. As many kinds of beings as there are, there's that many kinds of consciousness, and it's all divine. Maya, too, is divine in Tantra. We can use these two understandings to realize the essence of Brahman. And for those of us who worship the Divine Mother Kali, who are devotees of the Divine Mother Kali, we view her and Brahman as the same thing. Her and Brahman are just, Kali and Brahman are two different names for the same thing. Now, though Kali is everything, different forms of Kali as a result, Kali's understood by many others who aren't, devotees of the Divine Mother. She can be best understood by thinking of a void, because she is the void. But this void, while it seems empty to more baser senses or baser understandings, it is actually full in higher understandings. Full of what? Full of consciousness. This vast void of pure undiluted consciousness that looks empty to the eye, but is incredibly enlivened, incredibly moving, incredibly active. Seemingly empty to the eye, to the lower understandings, but higher understandings and higher senses understand it as pure enlivenment. That enlivenment that Kali makes life through. You can think of it as a black void, but with these little sparks of electricity that kind of flare as the turning of the void happens. And there's these little flares, these little sparks of electricity that shows how much activity in that void there is. If we don't understand God, Kali as being Brahman, as being God, we can at least understand her as that pure undiluted consciousness that is turning, that is there, that is active, yet seemingly empty. And, further understandings of Kali is that Shakti Shiva. Kali is the Divine Mother, Shiva is the Father. That's a very basic understanding. A little bit more higher understanding than that. None of these are necessarily wrong. They're just different levels of understanding. A higher level than Divine Mother, Divine Father is that the individual souls are like Shiva. They exist. They can't be created nor destroyed. They just are. So Shivas. And then Kali is what creates everything around the soul so that it becomes life, so that it can become a thing in and of itself. Otherwise, the souls would just be there, not doing anything. Kali is that action, is that doing of the divine, of God. And we must also understand that Kali is feminine form, Kali, feminine form of time. Kal means time. Kali is time. And time consumes everything in the end. But everybody's time also starts. So we have a beginning and we have an end in Kali. And Kali can also be understood, another understanding, this one kind of adjacent. Kal is time. Kali is the conqueror of time. So she conquers time. She leads us to mukti, moksha, liberation, which is the conquering of time that she provides. We can understand her as time, but also the conqueror of time, because she provides immortality, the true immortality of liberation from samsara, from maya, which she also is. The liberation from that which makes us feel like we're separate. We're here to enjoy that separateness, and that's good, that's okay. We don't have to view life as bad, even if it's deluded, even if it's maya, even if it's illusion. We don't have to view it as bad. Now's our time to be deluded. We will also have our time to be illumined, to be liberated. And it's all one thing. It's all Kali. Thank you very much for watching. Like this video, leave it a heart. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. I read all comments and I try to respond to all comments, and feel free to share this wherever you like. And please subscribe if you're not subscribed for more content. I try to put out a video a week, and I have been for the good part of a decade. It's been a long time. I hope this was useful. I hope this was interesting. Thank you very much. Jai Ma, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day.